Hi everyone, welcome back to the Quick Resume podcast. This is episode 42, so this is the answer. This is the one if you're into the whole Cosmos side of things. But apart from that, Sony has acquired Bungie. Dying Light 2 is out. We've seen some Ghostwire Tokyo gameplay. Come and stick around and find out what we have to say. Okay, hi everyone. Hope you've had a lovely week. Hope you've had a great time. If you haven't been here before, hopefully you have. But if you haven't, you're also just as welcome. My name's Deck. Hi, that's Tim over there.
I'm Tim. Hello.
Hello, and together we are the Quick Resume podcast, the QRP, and well, there's a lot to talk about this week, really. Where do we start? Because it's kind of been all over the place. Everything has been all over the place this week.
Yeah. There's been some banger headlines, and then there's been some just like there's been a game release.
Yeah. A few
that we've been playing. A few game releases. Yeah.
Seafood just came out today. Seafood came out.
Oh, Seafood came out
Friday.
Today, yeah.
No, that's not right. Embargo dropped. I'm wrong. Embargo dropped today, I think, but it's out.
Yeah, because it comes out very soon. But because I remember my brother had it on pre-order or something, and they had some weird thing where like if you pre-order it, you get like 48 hours early access or something.
Yeah.
So he's playing it right now, even though it's technically not released.
I see.
But all the reviews have come out regardless. Yeah, I mean, I guess we kind of just start with a sort of casual check-in, and then we can sort of phase into the Dying Light 2, right?
Yeah, sure, let's do it. Tell me all about it. How are you, bros?
Yeah, no, I'm good, man. Yeah, pretty standard all the way around. You guys don't want to hear about my work, obviously, so boring, boohoo work. You want to hear about my gaming, so yeah, everyone's here for my gaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. The standards. Haven't actually dipped into Halo. I think this is the first time I haven't played Halo for an entire week, Tuesday to Tuesday. No, well, it hasn't been Tuesday yet, but like, I didn't play it since like quite a while ago. It's been like well over a week. So that's that. Even though BTB's fixed. We are looking to hop back into that, and I did mention that I'm keen to hop back into that.
I too would like to do that.
A lot of our friends that we play FPS with have seem to have confessed that they never really liked Halo. Like genuinely, like they were just like, yeah, I just never really clicked with it, even when we were in like the hype period of it. And I was like, well, I don't know. You still played it for like 7 hours a day with us.
Yeah, we still had a lot of fun. Like.
Yeah, I
have to go pro, like just
yeah, exactly. Which is actually the point I actually put to you as well, where I was like, I'm kind of playing Apex and Halo, and you were like, oh, I don't really have enough time for both, and I was just like, dude, you don't need to go pro in either.
I do.
Just like
I
just bounce between them,
and I'm willing to. I'm willing to admit that.
Well, I'm willing to break down your spirits and say you're never going to go pro. So,
well, you should see my Onyx rank in the solo queue.
Onyx, yeah, fucking any Onyx you guys Pokemon, you fucking loser.
I wish. I do wish. Yeah, I mean, it's been the Samurai event this week as well, so that's been nice. Nearly, I think I'm 3 levels from the end. There's like a wicked advisor in there.
Where did we leave off from it last time when it last came around? It was because it's like there's like 18. No. I meant like in the Samurai event when it was last around. Because there's like 18. There's like 18 squares or rewards
30.
now.
There's 30 total.
30. Jesus. We left out on like 17 or something. Was it last time?
Yeah, so you can get 10 levels per event. So now I'm on like 27, 28. So just
27. Why not just finish off the 30? What?
Well, it's because they upped the
leave you
amount.
on 27,
didn't they? They used to, you could only get 7 before per event, and then they went, yeah, you're right. That's probably too slow. We'll up it to 10.
But now next time that event comes around, people play like one game, but I guess that's done. It's like,
to be fair,
2 to 3 levels.
I'm sick and tired of like Fiesta. Like, I don't mind it, but like I don't need an event every 3 weeks, like doing it. And I really don't mind. I have a high tolerance for this sort of stuff, but like the weekly ultimate, which I guess isn't technically part of the event, but the weekly ultimate was that stupid fucking one where it was like stop people getting a killjoy. So stop someone's killing spree, do that 3 times. Usually you can re-roll it, but you can't re-roll the ultimate. And my God, like my KD must have dropped by like half. Like just because I was bored. I was like, I don't want to play Fiesta anymore. I'm kind of done with Halo, but I'm like, I've done all the weekly challenges just to be told, oh, you have to force smash your head against the wall. So your brain curls.
It's a really stupid challenge. It makes sense just to make it get killing sprees yourself, because to stop other people's, I mean, you either have to throw and get them some kills and then kill them, or you just I guess have to hope you're against some absolute fucking fraggers and that they're just popping off and you get the occasional kill or something. It's just stupid. I really think it should just be you get 3 killing sprees. It's something you can control a little bit more.
Yeah, needs to go.
It's not cool. Yeah, you were losing your freaking mind doing that when you're in a party with us.
Every now and again you just hear me roar down the microphone like, I got one! The last one I got was pure fucking fluke. Like if I hadn't, because like it was before that I was actually doing kind of well, and like I'd get lucky, and maybe I was the only good one on like doing well on the team, so I'd get a killjoy. Yeah, great. Took ages, still dumb. But then the third one I was like at the end of my tether. Like I was a couple of games away from like actually becoming the Joker. And at one point, I was just spamming a cinder shot like into a wall. Like I was just zoning out, and I was just like, I watched someone walk past, but I just kept firing. I don't know what I was doing. Like there was no like brain there at all. And someone ran at me to melee me, and my cinder shot like bounced around the room and killed us both. And I got killjoy, and I just felt nothing. I felt nothing. I was just like, I guess I'm done now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the fucking Frodo meme. It's done.
Honestly, mate,
fucking in Mount Doom.
Because I haven't I know people have been like really whiny about the challenges in Halo. I think generally it's okay, and since they've culled a lot of it, like it's been fine generally, and they've done tweak it. Yeah. There's a couple in there which are like really shit, but this is the first time where I was like getting Apex like location-based flashback challenges, but I was like, oh my God, like land in this place and get 3 kills, and it's just like, this is the worst. Like, why are you making me through my own game to do this? Yeah. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, it's
God damn it.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And the reward was kind of cool, and I was like, maybe I'll come on and do that. Chances are still unlikely. And then when you sent me what the weekly ultimate was, I was just like, nah.
I almost gave up. I literally,
that's not worth it, in my opinion. It's just not.
There has been some cool weeklies recently though. They're like a shotgun skin and that one. Yeah, it's all been some pretty cool stuff. But
yeah, for sure.
That's Halo.
And then Apex. Been playing that. We're leading up into season 12 launching it Tuesday the 8th. So that's kind of cool. Do like me a bit of Apex. We both do. Deck's kind of hesitant to get back into it, but I think he'll crack.
I'll probably play again and ruin it for everyone so that we have a 4-man squad. I will probably give it another go.
Did you actually? I know this is obviously Apex. It flies over a lot of people's shoulders, but just quickly, did you hear that they doubled the size of Gibby's dome?
I saw something, 12? But it looked like a bug.
I don't think it is. I genuinely think they've done that because they obviously thought this new character that can launch the fire thing into his dome, they were just like, that's too much of a counter. We need to increase the size of his dome so they have like safe space still inside it. And I was just like, no, like Gibby can have a counter.
That sounds great.
Like let somebody counter him for the first time in its entire release. Let somebody counter Gibby. Anyway. Ran over, but I was very surprised when I saw that. I'm excited for the new season, and then obviously Dying Light 2 was kind of the big launch for us this weekend. And this poor little handsome boy, not me, the other guy.
Speaking of the third person,
that guy. Deck was away this weekend, so he had a bit of FOMO as we were playing it.
I did, and it was the worst as well because I was like, we were like walking through Liverpool, like having a great time, and then like those like billboards would flash up with Dying Light 2, and I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
that reminded. I just gotten over the fact that everyone's having fun without me.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is, man. It is a really fun game. It's not perfect by any means. It's actually pretty janky and pretty rough around the edges. You see a lot of wacky shit in like a game session. Like we're going to go off and play it after this, and I guarantee you're going to see something funny. It's just the physics and the open worldness of the game. You always get funny little things. You see them in every RPG of this sort of caliber.
Yeah.
But it's really fun, man. And I'm having a good time with it, and it's a great little co-op game. Although I'm not sure if this is a bug, and I think we're both not sure if this is a bug. But progress doesn't seem to carry. Story progress, should I say, doesn't seem to carry from world to world. So if you're playing with Jimmy,
like from host to guest,
from host to guest, you're playing with Jimmy, and you do the entire campaign in one night, and then Jimmy's not on tomorrow, so you boot up into your solo game. You still have all your XP, all your loot, all your weapons, all that sort of stuff, your character, but you're going to be on whatever mission you left off on your world. You're going to be on mission 1, mission 2, whatever, even though you technically completed the game. So I don't know if that's on purpose or not. It's a little bit weird, but you still get the achievements for the milestones in the campaign and stuff. So you're technically completing it, right?
Yeah.
It's a bit weird.
It is a bit weird. Yeah, I don't know because it doesn't. It's not like. Yeah, I don't really know where the pulse is on that because I'm not sure like if it is like you said it was intentional or not, and I don't really understand. Because there are some games where that happens where like if you're at different points in the story, like if you join a mission ahead than you're meant to be, then your progress isn't saved because it's like well you haven't hit level 2 yet, so you can't jump to level 4.
Yeah.
Right. So that kind of makes sense, but like you think about other co-op games and usually if you're at the same point, it ticks off the quests for all of you. So it is a bit weird, and it's like maybe there's like some sort of place you can go in the world to access the missions that you have completed up to, but your world doesn't move forward with someone else's, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah.
So I just don't know. But it would be a bit. It wouldn't be the end of the it's not the end of the world, but it's just a bit weird.
Yeah, it's just a bit awkward because like we've done most of the story I think on one of our friends' worlds, so it's just like if that friend isn't on and I'm just playing with somebody else, like I'm back at like mission 1 rather than picking off at mission 8 where we did all the progress in his world. So it's just a little bit weird like that, but like I said, you still get all the achievements, your character still remains all the same, so it's like if you've got an uninterrupted flow in that person's world, it's like you are just playing and completing the game yourself. It's not, but yeah, it is a little bit weird. And like I said, I haven't put enough time in the game to know if it is just like a mission select thing. Maybe you can find at the hub, and it's just like showing you that you're a mission 1, but technically you could jump to mission 8 if you wanted to. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's just from what I've experienced so far. That seems to be the case.
And you said to me before today, you would say you've played it for about 6 hours. Was that right?
Yeah, I'd say about 6-7 hours we've done.
I've probably played
most
about
of
2,
that's been co-op.
Maybe 2.5.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say most of that's been co-op, but the intro to that game is very, very long.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Game devs, you're out there. Stop making us do hour-long tutorials in co-op before we can play together. If you're marketing your game as co-op, like, this is not a thing. Like, most people's attention span isn't even that long. Like, we do. Like, we have, like, dedicated gaming sessions. But a lot of people are going to jump on and be like, we're still not playing together. I'm fucking done with this. Should we go play card? Like, it's like...
Yeah.
It's like, the most I'm willing to, like, give you there without getting pissed off is, like, half an hour. Like, after that, I'm like, this is too much.
Yeah, it's just drawn out. And most of it's just exposition on the world, cutscenes, stuff like that. Like... The actual, hey, this is how you mantle, this is how you jump, these are zombies, that's probably like 15-20 minutes. The rest of it's just exposition to the world. Absolutely. So like there's definitely ways they can cut that out
And
or
man,
not do it.
some of those characters fucking go on. I'll tell you,
Yeah,
like they're like
they
the
do.
dialogue is like double the length it needs to be, and I'm like this is not. I know they've obviously spent a lot of time trying to like craft a lot of like lore and like detail into the world, but it's like, stop delivering it to me in just dialogue. Can I not just like see like environmental storytelling? Like, and it's like, I don't give a shit. Like, I listened to it for like the first few lines, and I'm like, still going.
Yeah.
Oh, it's still going, and I'm like, I would never have sat through this, and especially in co-op. Like, surely that was like one of the first things that I was playing the game, and I was like, this is not ideal.
Mm-hmm. I mean, luckily, it's not the sort of game where you play it for the story.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've experienced it with one of our friends, which is just, he's notoriously known for just skipping all cutscenes, all dialogue. He just doesn't give a shit,
And then acting confused.
and he just speed runs it. Yeah, and then like an hour later, he's like, "How do I do this?" And we're like, "Well, you should have fucking should have read the dialogue." So, and he's just, it's killing him. Like, it's absolutely killing him when these characters are talking and we don't want to skip. He's literally like, he's just like writhing in his seat. He just hates it because it is kind of meaningless. Like, I'm someone who likes a good story, and even I'm like, can you shut up?
It just goes on too long. It literally goes on.
Can you shut up?
And like I say, like that's what it is. They try and deliver too much of the story and the exposition through just like in-game dialogue delivery. Like, even if we had to, like, generally I'm not in favor of cutting to cutscenes, but at least it would be like, add some excitement to it. Like, fucking hell, like, you know, you can actually add some cinematography, but I'm just staring at a face like an Oblivion, and it's like
you're running on the rooftops and talking in like the cutscene.
Literally,
you can see people doing the parkour and you're having a conversation, but instead, you're just sitting on like a rooftop holding each other's hands talking.
Yeah.
It's just,
well, I always thought
it's a bit much.
I always thought it was something that Borderlands did well, because it's like, we'll just tell you over the radio. Like, you press X, and they're like, okay, you go out, and I'll tell you on the way there. And then you're on your way there, you're fucking shooting boys, and they're like, you got to do this. You don't have to be paying attention to it. That's not like a barrier to your progress. But this is like, oh my god. Thankfully, you can skip it all very, very easily. But like, it's just like, how much do I have to listen to versus how much is fat? And like, that's where you're like, oh, it's just acts as a barrier to like, you know, seamless like co-op gameplay. Definitely noticed it.
And don't get me wrong, the voice acting is actually pretty good. Like, I actually think it is good.
Yep.
It's just what they're talking about. Like, it's just a zombie game. Like, there's a virus, you know, there's a militia. Like, we've done it 100 times. Like, we don't need to sit and listen to it for 15-20 minutes. So like,
well, it's the delivery more than anything else. Like, I think there's probably Dying Light's kind of like conceptually is quite a cool zombie world, and that it's like, in order to survive, you know, because of the nighttime thing, in order to survive, everybody had to develop skills to be quick and agile and mobile, and you know, like, because of that, the rooftops are like designed for, like, as if humans have made them easy to hop across, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? So, and that creates some really cool, like organic, like level design, and it's just like, I wish that had carried over to the storytelling, but it hasn't. But then, it's just not interesting, like, for the most part.
No, it's not. But it's luckily the gameplay kind of makes up for it. The parkour feels good. The combat. Oh god, I got to sneeze. No, I don't.
Oof.
Okay, hang on.
We're all rooting for you.
I fought it off, dude.
Well
like
done.
A zombie.
Let's go.
The combat, I have to say, is a little bit samey for me. It gets better once you start adding mods to your weapons and stuff, but like, I shit you not, sometimes I have to whack a zombie about 12 times with a machete. One zombie, and there's like 30 on my screen.
Yeah.
And I think it scales with the people you play with. So you go into your world, it's 3 hits, and you're like, oh, this feels kind of fluid, I'm just carving my way through the crowd. But you play with 4 friends, and that zombie's now taking like 12 hits to die, and it just becomes like a fucking whack-a-pinata session between you and your 4 friends in this one zombie. And it just looks fucking but it is funny though, to be fair.
I think it's a good point. I think it is interesting. I have a lot to say about that, because it's like, and again, based on, like, I've only played like 3 hours, but like, I think it's interesting because, like, I think Dying Light has always been intentional and like deliberate in that zombies aren't like fodder, like necessarily, like because you are weak, like you're hitting them with a wrench, and it's like that is not going to kill a minion of the undead, and
Mhm.
so I think some of it is deliberate in that like you're not meant to be able to mow through zombies, but there are times where it's like they're like blocking your path, and it's like I need to kill some to get past, and you're like I've just been swinging this left to right for 40 hits now. This got boring, even though you could like parkour past them, I guess. But then they have like a whole combat tree dedicated to combat, so it's like, am I meant to or not? So I do think it is, and I think you're probably right. I think it's probably because as you move through the game, it will enhance the feeling of like progression and the mods and finding a good weapon and everything. So I think that does make sense.
Because you get cool skills later where, obviously you can like. If you stagger somebody, you can like jump on them and mantle them, and then drop kick like other things, stuff like that. You could like drop kick like from a rooftop, like come down on them and like crush their head.
Yeah, I've got.
You got like abilities where you can use their momentum. So like as they're charging, you use the momentum and like throw them into a wall, and then that'll do some of the hell. So like I think as you progress, everything will just flow together really nicely, and you'll feel like you're actually like really skilled, that you feel like almost like a martial artist, and you're just manipulating these zombies. But right now it's kind of just like everyone's just smacking a pinata. But I was in stitches the other night where we had like this side quest like dialogue, and this guy was like talking to us, and he was like starting us. He's like, "Oh, you're not gonna do anything. I'll silence you right here, right now." And then it starts and you have to fight him, and then suddenly there was just like 4 of us, and he was just like, "Oh,
was that?"
And then we all just like, mashed him in a corner.
Was that the guy you have the dialogue with, and then he gets like pissed off at the end of it and starts attacking you? Like I had a cyclist.
Yeah, I think so.
Like he was like in the bottom of the bottom floor
basement.
Of he was like a mechanic or something. Yeah, and you're speaking to him, then all of a sudden he's like, and then you just always like, and he's like, like in a corner.
And then we all just absolutely mashed him in a corner, and we like chopped off his head and his legs and stuff like that. And it was just, I was just in stitches, bro. It was so funny. Just the whole concept of him thinking it's a 1v1, and suddenly like 3 other guys pop in,
like,
and he's like,
you just like phase outwards, you like clone outwards.
He's like, there weren't 3 of you a second ago.
You popped in. This isn't fair.
Spawned here. It makes for some comical moments for sure.
I think it's interesting, and I like that they've taken this direction of like they've gone in a more RPG direction with like this whole skill points, and like there looks like there's more detail, and like there's just more depth to like the weapons and the modding. I know it's quite a big thing in the first one, but it looks like just from what I'm seeing, like it looks like there's really gone a whole other step further, which is cool. I think all of that stuff is very, very cool. And I guess that was the other thing about the combat. If it as much as what we're saying about the like how it feels at a low level, the moment to moment actually hitting shit feels really good. It's like really like a lot of feedback and like really kinetic. Like you hit stuff like and clothes tear off when you hit them, and then like mass will fall off people. Like it feels really like just really good. So like I think that will all hopefully that will all like come together as like we play out more.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it feels great, and like the addition of like the vibration in like the triggers and stuff with all the hits and the mantling and stuff like that feels really cool. Like when you climb onto like a rooftop and all that, you get that feedback sort of thing.
Yeah.
It feels good, man. Yeah.
So, and I guess this is the only like the other thing I was thinking is like I feel like there are some things that they have taken away from like what I would consider like standard like RPG mechanics and put it into the skill tree. At least I think they have. Like it's weird that this game doesn't have sprint. This is just me.
Yes.
It's weird that you don't sprint.
Yes.
You're like running, and all the characters are like run, and you're like just doing a leisurely like jog, and you're like, why can't I go like quicker? This. Yeah, literally.
Yeah, you have like a small. Yeah, you can unlock like a dart that gives you a bit of extra speed.
Yeah,
you can then use to like jump,
propel yourself,
sprint, jump, that sort of thing. And then later you unlock a slide. Like, why is there not a slide
to begin with?
Yeah. Do I have to learn a slide? Really? I can go outside and slide right now in my garden. I don't need it.
I don't need an apocalypse.
I just feel like yeah, I just feel like it's something that should have just been base movement.
Yeah.
That they just put behind a skill tree.
And that's the
Yeah.
thing, like maybe it will pay off. Like maybe it will pay off, and like we'll get to the end and we'll find like clothes and armors that will like really like help make with these builds. And it's like, well, I'm specking into sliding, and this wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't a skill tree thing because everyone would have had it by default. Well, you know what I mean. So yeah, I just think that is sort of a thing. I was having played at the beginning. I was like, I'm not sure about this.
Yeah.
And how do we think about
No, I mean we all had the same thought.
Yeah. How do you feel about sort of the parkour in general?
I think the parkour in general is pretty good. Like I said, I feel like at points, as you mentioned, without the sprint, it can feel a bit slow. When like the music's pumping, you got like a chase behind you and stuff like that, and you're just like, it's like me. I was like going out for a jog. Like I'm not going much faster than that, and I'm like, yeah. So apart from that, and not feeling a bit, it could feel a bit more intense if it was quicker. I feel like it's actually pretty good. Like it all flows together quite nicely. Like you said, the rooftops and the world is kind of built around it. So like when you do follow these paths and stuff like that, it does feel pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's been a few janky moments, where like I've clipped through something, or like I'm like, why didn't I mount that?
Yeah.
So I just like hit my face and then fell, and it's just like, oh, it's annoying. But they're little short things. One thing I will say is the stamina when you start that game is painfully low.
Yeah,
it is so small. You can barely climb like one of those little billboard posters before your guy actually just falls off. Like,
Again,
a few times I just fell off it.
Same sort of thing,
though,
isn't it?
Like, yeah, they just want to bulk it out for later as an upgradable stat. It was so painful. Like I could barely do anything.
Yeah.
And it was just So, but now it's a little bit better.
I think it's like it's a little bit crackdowny in that sense.
Yeah.
Like as you build it up, like you have more access to moving around the world, like easier. It's something like that. I will say, like, sure. I think it's. I agree. I think it feels quite good for the most part. I think the game like excels when it puts you in positions where you have to like just on the fly improvise. Because the world is designed really well, from what I can tell. Like it's very organic, and like you're hopping from like a rooftop to like a street lamp, and then you're like climbing up it, and you're then jumping onto like a post, and you're just trying to do it on the fly because you're trying to not to fall while you're being chased, and and you kind of use combat like a little bit throughout that, and I think that's when the game is like really at its best. But like I don't think it's like absolutely perfect. I still feel like sometimes movement feels a bit squishy. I know I sound a bit weird. Squishy is the word that just comes to mind, but like it's just a bit like
okay.
And that's my feedback to the devs. It's a bit
just like you feel like there should be like more animations to it and more weight to it, sort of thing.
I find it hard to put my finger on exactly what it is. I tell you what doesn't help: the fact that the right bumper is jump. That doesn't help. Like I understand that they're making this game for most people who don't have Elite controllers, but I wish I could just change the control scheme so that I can just use A as jump. I think that would kind of help. Bumpers just aren't jump to me, and I don't think it helps that feeling of like it's just not as responsive as like a paddle or a face button,
Yeah, I think they've done that on purpose because a lot of people, like you said, don't have elites and stuff like that, and a lot of the parkour is like Assassin's Creed where you have to hold the button to keep climbing and to vault stuff.
Of course,
it's just like when you're gonna just hold A with your thumb, like that's
I understand. I understand it.
This isn't Gears.
I definitely understand it. But like I think a couple more options there would have been nice. I would have liked a wider field of view as well. It's not bad. But like, just first-person games, just like all of them, just give me field of view options. All of them. Like, I would have liked it wider because that's not only what I'm used to, but like these sorts of games benefit. Like, it just even on, I know it's low on the priority list, but like even if it's just a next gen console feature, because I know it strains like bandwidth more to like have that. But
speaking of which, and I sort of segue into that. Why can't I run this game with high resolution at 60? Isn't that kind of what we bought our consoles for? To have like native 4K 60 frames on like every game?
Yeah.
At least. Like why do I have to play it on a pretty poopy resolution to have 60?
I think it is a bit spotty technically. Yeah. And there are times that I'm looking at the game and I'm like, that's quite pretty. And then there are other games I'm looking at, I'm like, that line just looks okay. Like that looks fine, I guess. Like I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
It's just, yeah, I don't know. I just felt a little bit salty because I mean, it's not obviously down to the console. I know that it's down to how they've developed the game and stuff like that. But like, yeah, I just felt like a bit. I was just like, didn't we buy these consoles to play at like the highest possible resolution while maintaining 60 frames? Like, I don't understand like why I have to give up certain things. But I don't know. Plus, there's like 3 resolution options. There's like performance, quality,
Yeah.
and then something
Resolution.
else. Resolution. So it's just like I don't know what the difference between quality and resolution is.
Do you remember in Monster Hunter they did it? It was like quality is just like buffs the like assets, makes them look better, like trees and bushes and like textures.
But would I lose 60 doing that?
Yeah, I tried both. You lose 60.
It's not worth it. But like, I just don't feel like I should have to do that compromise. But I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah, I don't know what it runs at in the 60 mode. Probably like 1440p. But yeah, I feel like I know it's an open world, but I don't know. I guess it's something that's populated by a lot of stuff. Yeah, it doesn't like even understanding that it still doesn't feel right that I can't have like 60 frames or at least high 50s. You know, I can go for a dynamic. With a higher resolution because sometimes I feel I can feel the softness. I'm used to 4K now and I can feel the softness of the resolution and I'm like, this feels like 1080.
I feel like that game would actually be very pretty with higher resolutions.
Yeah.
Like I think it's quite pretty right now, to be honest. Playing at 60, I think it's pretty decent at the lowest. But like, it's just a shame because I do feel like it could really shine with the higher ones. But I'm not giving up. I'm not playing at 30. So
yeah, agreed.
Like you tied my hands. So
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to suggest we move on unless there's anything else you want to add because we'll rack up a bit of time.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So the next thing really, I haven't seen the full showcase, but I think PlayStation did a little showcase. Did they do a little showcase? I think they did, and they showed off Gran Turismo, which I haven't seen, but a lot of people apparently are saying it looks very pretty, which is unsurprising. It's a sim game, and that's great. The other thing was obviously Ghostwire Tokyo, which I think is the thing that us two are probably more interested in seeing. I saw a couple of GIFs here and there. Looked fucking very stylish. It looks quite pretty.
Yeah.
And I've seen like good to like mixed reactions. I think a lot of people have been like, this isn't what I was expecting, but a lot of people have been like, yeah, it's fucking crazy, bro. So yeah, that's coming out like March as well, isn't it? So I mean, PlayStation have quite a bit of a few banger months lined up, really, with Sifu and Horizon and now Ghostwire.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, there's quite a lot. Yeah, I actually forgot Horizon was coming out at the end of this month. Yeah,
it's coming out the 18th. So
yeah. They do have some good stuff coming up, and Ghostwire look good, man. I think that's the one thing I can say about it is very stylish. Like the art design and the world in that game looks so interesting and so cool. Like it's what instantly drew me into it. The moment I saw the first trailer, I was like, what's happening? I was just like, is this a horror game? Is this like an action game? I was like, this is so weird and cool. Like,
that was it. That was actually, now that I remember, there was a lot of like mixed reactions because people were like, oh, this is actually a lot more action. I thought this was going to be like more horror. I think that was like, some people were expecting that like differently, but
yeah. I think people were expecting like some kind of almost horror-esque like kind of detective game or something maybe, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to turn out to be that. I always kind of saw it as like an action game personally. From the gameplay I saw. But yeah, man, it looks cool. And then obviously that's from we said it earlier. Was it Tango?
Tango, yeah.
One of the studios under Bethesda. So big up Bethesda and Xbox. Man. Maybe we'll get it soon.
We'll get it soon. March 2023.
Yeah, exactly.
Woohoo.
But yeah, it's always good to see a nice looking game. And one I'll be excited to play, being pumped out by a studio under us. So yeah.
And if you're out there, you got PS5, let us know how it is.
Play it.
Play it. Let us know how it is. Let us know what we have to look forward to. So we'll see the scores for that and see how it does when the time rolls around. But yeah, I'm excited for that one. You don't hear much from Tango, and Tango is obviously like one of the only Japanese developers that Xbox has. So
yeah,
it's quite a unique bit of output from them.
Well, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right, and the last sort of I guess like honourable mention before we move into the news was that Philly cheesesteak. Uncle Gaming Philly Spencer has won a Dice Award, which they do annually, and they do different awards for like people in the industry, yada yada yada. And Phil got the Lifetime Achievement Award, which is the 25th one. Happening this year, and the award, funnily enough, the award's going to be presented by Todd Howard. And I've been scrolling through Twitter, and like there were so many people just saying, like, industry people like congratulating Phil, and Phil responding to everyone saying thank you, can't wait to see you again. And it was just like, at one point I was like, I'm getting sick of this. Phil, you're such a popular guy, are you? Like, wow. Like, yeah. But obviously, I think like most people who are like kind of into following the game and news are like, this is cool, dude. This is cool, dude. Like, even if you're in the minority and you don't like the whole vision of subscriptions and Games Pass, like, he's a cool dude. He plays games, and when he talks, you can kind of feel that kind of, like emanating out of him. And I think that's what makes him, like someone who you look to for the console that you buy, and you're like, I can be sold on this by him because he knows it and he plays it. One of us.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he's a really cool dude, and he's always fucking, whenever he's on camera, he's always beaming. He's always happy to be there.
Yeah.
He's just pretty awesome. He's not just like a fucking suit, He's not just, like you said, he is kind of like a gamer, and he knows what he's doing. And hell, he's really turned Xbox around. So
exactly,
he's a damn legend in my eyes. But
absolutely. So as far as we go, You deserved it, Phil. You deserve it. Well done, buddy.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so let's move into sort of the news then. And I unless you've been living under a rock, you've heard about the biggest, the next acquisition. We're talking about this every 2 weeks at this point, which was that PlayStation acquired Bungie on this was on Monday, so it was straight after the episode. Our last episode went live, and I think most podcasts are the same. They do it on the weekend, and then big news goes up at the beginning of the week. Initial reactions, because I think I messaged you this, didn't I?
We're fucked. Sony win.
Yeah.
My initial reactions were obviously just like, shit, Destiny's going to be exclusive. They've pulled out the big guns. They're angry we took COD. But then obviously that didn't turn out to be the case once I looked into it a little bit more. And then I was kind of just like, I feel like this is a bit of a snake in the grass move. I feel like this is it's almost like a threat, isn't it? It's almost just like, you watch your step. You watch your step over there, Xbox, or we're just going to pull the Destiny IP from underneath your feet.
So we got muscle. Muscle.
Yeah, but play nice, and we can all benefit. Sort of thing. I feel like it's one of those sort of moves. Now that I've looked into it a little bit more,
like leverage.
But, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, obviously it's staying multi-plat. I don't know like how the talks have gone for like Destiny 3 and stuff like that. I guess that will remain multi-plat as well. But like that's, I don't even think that's that far in development.
I don't even know if they will.
Yeah, if they even will, because they're just updating Destiny 2 like crazy. I actually think I saw a news article that said like the pre-orders for the Witch Queen were insane, like the highest since like Forsaken or something.
Yeah.
So obviously people are still loving the game and loving the content and stuff like that, and it's a big IP. It is like Destiny is huge. So
yep,
good on them.
Yeah. I saw this and I was immediately like, oh, God fucking damn it. Because I mean, if you've listened to the podcast before, like I've been on record as saying like I would love Xbox to partner up with Bungie more, because I think Bungie do like in some aspects of the development, they are like at the top of the industry. Not all of them. Like they have like, I think they've been overtaken a bit in terms of shooting mechanics, but their shooting mechanics still feel like amazing. But like Skybox design, like incredible, and like you can't deny the impact that Destiny's been one of the most influential console games ever. Like, everyone has been chasing that, like what Destiny has got, not from a critical standpoint, but from a commercial success standpoint. Like, there's been so many clones like following that MMO light or that shared world shooter kind of experience. Like, they really set a precedent and a tone for that going into the 8th gen, last gen.
Absolutely, yeah.
So and you can't really deny that. So like, yeah, I've always said like, man, I'd love to see some sort of partnership there. So this was like a big like bummer to me. And even though we will get into it, there's been a lot of discourse and back and forth on kind of like the exclusivity details. It's like I know I'm going to be getting a lesser experience from here on out, and that kind of bums me out. Or I have to live with the anxiety.
Yeah, and to be honest, even prior to this, we've had a lesser experience with Destiny and Destiny 2, haven't we? With PlayStation and its limited time. So I feel like it's either going to be the same or just like worse. I don't really know. But yeah, I mean, they're definitely going to sway some stuff in there over into their core. It'd be weird not to. Like, they were doing it prior to purchasing the studio, so why would they not now? Yeah, for sure.
And the funny thing about all of it is that Phil is like on record saying like Destiny's his favorite game. Like, he's been saying that for the last 5 years. He's like max light level. Like it's his main. He's a Destiny main. So he must have like, I can't help but think like immediately he must have like called up Jim Ryan and just be like, please don't take it off. But not that there's ever been a precedent for that. Like nobody has ever like acquired someone and then pulled a game off the store. But it's still like the future of it. Like,
Yeah, it's big, man. Like, a lot of people, like you said, might be like, "Oh, Destiny's garbage" or "Destiny's trash." It's not.
Yeah,
like Destiny
is
a fantastic game. Like it might have its quirks and its kinks and stuff like that, but it is a massive game and a big experience. And shit like that does have its kinks. The game is very, very good.
I think if there was any like criticism you were going to like levy against Bungie with Destiny, I mean, obviously like the storytelling and like the reuse of content has been like really shitty, but most of it has been like the live service elements. Like that's been the biggest draw of controversy. Like, the fact that play for another year and we're going to make all your content useless. Like stuff you've actually paid for is now not in the game.
Yeah.
Like that's the biggest like criticism that Bungie draw. Like in terms of actually kind of what's there and like the art and how it feels on the controller, it's always like stellar. Yeah.
Mm. But it's not pulled content though. It's just like the stuff you can still play it, but like it's just the stuff you get from it's not viable going into the new game sort of thing.
No, there are some stuff I've just like off the top of my head, like the planets. I'm not just talking about loot, but like the fact that planets are cycled out and it's like that was on the disc when I bought it, and now it's not.
Oh, okay.
So like,
yeah, for that sort of stuff, you should never pull content out. They need to do like a Hearthstone sort of situation and just have like a separate tab
legacy,
or a separate mode.
Legacy planets.
Yeah, you can flick to and just play like a legacy version of Destiny 2 or something. It should always be accessible. The consumers paid for it. It's a bit weird just to rip it out of your hands. But no, I agree. That is kind of their main criticism. And the whole microtransactions and store and stuff like that doesn't fly too well either.
Yeah.
Especially in a AAA game that you pay full price for.
Yeah, exactly. It's the live service stuff that I think that they've maybe mishandled a bit over the time. But like I said, I think Bungie are an amazing studio. And
well, really, really talented.
And there's a lot to kind of unpack here because the acquisition happened for what was it, $3.6 billion.
Correct.
That is a lot of money for not much. Now, because there have been like
Destiny.
There's been like rumors and like of Bungie being in talks with like other publishers in the past, which by the way is really funny because Bungie have been under Xbox, under Activision, and now under Sony. And it's like, guys, do you want to be independent or not? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
It's like I want to be single. So it's very expensive in the terms of, like you say, in terms of the IP there. Like the IP, my understanding is that the IP really affects the prices of these acquisitions, and with it just being Destiny, obviously very, very popular, very, very lucrative, but just one. This is like half of Bethesda. Bethesda is 7.5. Like, that's mental. Like it sounds like a really big overpayment to me.
Yeah, but it's kind of just like, what will they do with it. It's not just it's just Destiny right now, but like we've said, Bungie are a talented studio, and they might have some other projects and some other IPs they got up their sleeve.
Well, we know they're working on new IP.
Yeah,
Called Matter.
So Matter.
Yeah,
I forgot about that actually.
Yeah.
But it's it's also kind of what the future holds. But right now, that's essentially 3.6 billion for what feels like Destiny.
Yeah.
And like you said, when you compare it to Bethesda, which is like, sure, it's like double that, but like, oh my god, like Bethesda is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like David and the
Goliath.
Goliath.
Yeah.
It's like David and the Goliath.
So Dave and Frank, isn't it?
Dave and Frank, yeah. So, but hey,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that says more about like the Bethesda acquisition or if it says more about the Bungie one. Like, was Bethesda just a really good deal, or was Bungie an overpayment? Like, I'm leaning towards Bungie being an overpayment because, like, in the billions for a single, like when you look at purchases for other studios, one thing that people always point to was Sony's acquisition of Insomniac, which was 200 million, like fucking nothing. And the reason is because Insomniac had like no IPs because everyone that they worked with Sony a lot, obviously, and the Sony always had the IP, whether it's Ratchet and Clank or whatever it is. So you look at like single studio acquisitions and it's like never that high. Whereas Bungie, I understand, own Destiny, that makes it more valuable, but not 3.6 billion valuable. So
no, but I do think Destiny has been like in the top 5 of PlayStation downloads and most played games for like since it came out, and it's maintained it for like, how long's Destiny 2 been out for now? Like 5 years?
Yeah, I guess.
More maybe.
More, yeah.
Like
2016.
It's maintained that top 5 spot and like current play count, and it's still booming with the latest release and expansion. Like, it's big. Like, it's really big on PlayStation.
Yeah.
It's big, It's like it technically contends with the likes of Call of Duty in terms of sales, and stuff like that. It's huge.
And this is, I guess, where you start to get to the question of like, why, like, and the argument here, or like, I don't know if you got a chance to like read the article, because obviously Bungie put up an article and PlayStation put up an article. So I was like reading through the PlayStation one, and the whole motive for this was that essentially Sony are pivoting into like live service games, and which is like a whole other conversation. Like, I don't know how the fan base is going to react to that, because it wasn't popular when Xbox were doing live service, but now that PlayStation is doing it, maybe it's suddenly popular. Who knows? And and like I'll jump down the notes just a little bit, because there was a quote about this, that PlayStation are looking to have 10 live service games going by 2026. I think I've got it here somewhere, but so that it signals their intent, not only to the players and to the shareholders, that like, this is the direction we're going, or at the very least, we're pivoting to this direction to some capacity. And Bungie have been doing live service games since 2013. Even to some degree, like Halo's had like a live service kind of element, and like Sony just aren't equipped with that. Their first party studios are all single player, so if they wanted to do that, they just don't have any like expertise in that area, really. And Bungie are obviously part of that, so I think that's where like the negotiating price came in, and Bungie are like, look, we can help out your other teams. Like, when Last of Us 2 Factions comes out, it's like, we can step in and we can help like with the support of that. And I think that became very desirable to Sony, because Bungie's quite a big team as well. I think they're like maybe 600, 400, 600. They're quite big. So I just think that's kind of interesting, that pivot and that movement, and using Bungie to support that approach. I
think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it does kind of make sense. They can kind of sort of head up and lead Sony entering that sort of space. With some familiar footing in the area. I mean, that does make sense. Yeah.
And I think there's probably part of it as well that they were like, we need to make sure we have a first-person shooter on our console. Because it's very possible, but like 2026, Xbox could have every first-person shooter, not just like competitive, but like RPG. Where it's Fallout, it's Elder Scrolls, it's COD, it's Doom, it's literally like all of them. Halo, it's all of them.
They need to have something.
They need to have something in that genre that because it's I think it's still the most popular genre. So like clearly that was it strikes me as something which didn't which they would have thought about. And then comes the conversation about the exclusivity. And so the word multi-platform was used quite a lot. And this is funny because obviously we know PlayStation have been like taking a more of a PlayStation and PC combined approach, like what Xbox started doing 5 years ago. That could technically be multi-platform. It doesn't feel like that's what they mean, but like it could. I don't know why they would choose to do that, but it could. And like even in some of the articles, Jim Ryan used the term rival platforms. Like Bungie games will still come to rival platforms. So it really signals to me that that is actually the case. And then it's like, why? Like, why? Because Sony don't do that. Sony are very aggressive with this sort of stuff. So like, I don't understand why. And that makes me think that Bungie, who have been passed around by lots of publishers, especially got burnt by Activision, allegedly, are just, they, as part of the stipulation of the acquisition, were like, we want all our games to say multiplat. You can acquire us. Obviously, you take a chunk of the profit. You get access to our expertise. Our games will go in your Games Pass, day one or whatever. But we want to keep making games multiplat because we've been burnt by this before.
I think that makes sense. Yeah. I think that is probably exactly how it went down. Because they're very aware that Destiny is just as big on other platforms as it is on PlayStation. It's big on Xbox, it's big on PC. So they're definitely going to want to keep it multiplat, especially like you said, from the past experiences they've had. Which again strikes the question is of 3.6 billion is a lot of money for something that was negotiated to still stay multiplat. But
it does.
And it also, like we said earlier, is it a leverage thing as well? Could Sony actually still pull the rug from under our feet if we don't play nice with other IPs as well? I think there is an element of that maybe as well, but it's so hard to tell. You're kind of just fumbling around in the dark with these sort of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is. It's just a big why, because like then it's the case of like if that is the case and Bungie did stipulate that, because this is the thing, like it feels like they just really wanted access to this big IP that they could do whatever they wanted with, and it just kind of all added up to, for once, where exclusivity wasn't the focus but actually everything else, because like usually that is Sony's thing. So it's ours now, and we're going to pay a lot of money to keep it off other consoles for a long time, or forever. But now, like, and this is the other part of the story, is that they kept using the word transmedia, like films, TV shows, and we know that there's obviously Uncharted's coming out. We know they're doing Last of Us. I'm sure there's more that I'm forgetting, but that's just confirmed. I can't imagine that they aren't talking about a God of War like HBO show or whatever. And I know I'm saying this when the Halo show is about to come out on Paramount in like a month or 2 months or whatever, but Sony is pushing into this much harder. Like they were speaking about this acquisition as like one of the primary motivators was essentially, we want to make a Destiny TV show, so that'd be really fucking cool. And it's just like, I remember a certain company trying to talk about TV in 2013 alongside games, and do you know what happened? Everyone threw a fucking hissy fit. So like, where are you now? Like, where are you now? Just whatever.
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit different though, because I guess when Xbox did it in the likes of like Quantum Break and stuff like that, it was kind of like morphed into the game as well, right? Whereas I feel like that is a bit weird and maybe not quite what we're ready for. But like,
it's not just that though.
This would be completely separate, right? It's like, are people upset that there's a Witcher series? No, not really. People kind of really dig it.
Well, that's my point.
Yeah,
my point is that people were already pissed off about what Xbox had done in 2013, and then them talking about TV was like, I'm buying a gaming console. But like that's when you're saying it's completely separate. Like part of the hardware design was like, we're going to facilitate like TV and movies, and everyone was like, I don't like that. I don't want both. Which I always thought was like, I understand the marketing was shit, but like, in principle, I didn't see a problem. But now, yeah, I don't know. Like suddenly, it's all right now. So
I guess everyone's just more accepting to it now with ones that have happened and been successful, like The Witcher. You know, I feel like people are just like, oh, this can be done right, and it's kind of cool. So now we're kind of not so mad about it. Where it was kind of a bit more uncharted territory back when back then. You know, the world's kind of changed now.
It is, yeah, and it's just I just remember a lot of talking being around the fact that I don't want my gaming publisher spending money on movies and TV, like. Whereas that's now what's happening. Like Sony Interactive Entertainment are like, we're going to buy Bungie and we're going to put a lot of this money towards making a Destiny TV show. Where I think a lot of people would probably, well, I would have expected the reaction to be like mixed because. Like, I don't want you to make a fucking Destiny TV show. I want you to like just fund Bungie so they can make the best Destiny possible. Like that's why, and that probably will still happen. But you know, it's still like you're working in a grey area, and there are degrees between that. And it's just, I just think the whole thing is funny. Like, yeah, you're right. I think we probably have come a bit further. But I will always say about the Xbox One, they were just ahead of their time. They were just ahead of their time, and that's their fault.
Yeah.
But it's it's. As someone who like I feel like I kind of got the vision and it worked for me as who I was, like who I what I did. It's frustrating to look back at it and be like, I can't believe the shitstorm that happened. When now we're doing it all 5 years later. Like the whole Alexa in your room, like home assistants are everywhere, like with Connect, and it's just eye rolling sort of stuff, But
yeah, it is kind of weird, and I do think it was an element of us being ahead of our time when we tried to do it. When Xbox tried to do it. I don't know. It's so hard to predict these things. And the world just changes so fast. But it is quite funny to kind of look back on it. But I mean, I feel like if this sort of thing was happening back in 2013 and they were doing a Destiny TV show, I would have been quite angry. But now I'm thinking Destiny TV show on like a streaming platform would actually be really kind of sick. So like my opinions kind of changed a bit as well.
Yep.
And I do think Destiny would actually translate quite well into a series or a movie.
Yeah, sure.
I think series would probably be better.
It's very like lore dense, isn't it, Destiny? So
yeah, exactly. You can get away with sort of having a slow burn sort of series and fill it with lore and not use that much CGI and special effects. I feel like you can kind of manipulate it quite well and then just have bits here and there.
Yeah.
Because it is very dense, like you said. But
absolutely. And that is like, swinging back around to like the talk of platform versus platform, and exclusivity. As much as everybody has been like saying this and that, like so that's what Sony said, but from the Bungie side, when asked the question, Bungie has future games in development, will they now become PlayStation exclusive? So presumably matter, and if there is a Destiny 3 in pre-production somewhere, presumably that as well. The answer was no. We want the worlds we are creating to extend to anywhere people play games. We will continue to be self-published, creatively independent, and we will continue to drive one unified Bungie community. Again, unless they're pulling strings with what words, like semantics, they're saying it's not going to be PlayStation exclusives, but like that could technically be PC. But that's just not the vibe I'm getting from this. The vibe I'm getting from this is that for whatever reason, the agreement is that Bungie is going to keep publishing multi-platform. And like it says, they're going to self-publish. So it's very much like Bethesda. Like, Xbox oversee it, but Bethesda self-publish their own stuff still. Whereas this is one studio doing that. So, yeah. That is the vibe I'm getting, but just part of me is like, I don't believe you. I do not believe you. Yeah. When Matter comes out, when you announce that in 2026, and it's this like gorgeous, like whatever it is, maybe it's a third person, like new, like fantasy sci-fi RPG that you can play with friends. No way. I just don't believe you that you're not going to be like PlayStation consoles only. Like, no way. I don't believe it at all. So I love to be proven wrong, and that's pretty much the gist of it. I just want to be wrong about my doubts and my fears and my anxiety about it.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I mean, PlayStation and Xbox have both done worse in terms of this sort of stuff. So I feel like it's going to get locked down.
Yeah,
something like that.
Exactly.
A new brand new IP from Bungie, you know, a studio everyone knows and loves, based from Halo and Destiny. Like, I can't see it not being locked down when the time comes.
Yeah.
And I think they're just wording it nicely right now with the option that they can backstep on it if they ever need to, for whatever reason. So,
but it's just weird. Like, why be so explicit about it on day one? Why be like, nope, it's going to be multi-platform? Just if, like, in 3 years' time, you could be like, just kidding, like, you know. I don't know. Yeah, it's just whatever. It's just, I find it hard to believe. Like, that's all. I just find it hard to believe.
I mean, they do it all the time with Final Fantasy VII remake. Yeah, you'll get it next year. Just kidding.
Yeah.
You'll get it next year. Nah, I got you again.
Yeah.
Jesus,
fucking fool you twice.
You're
a bitch.
Yeah, you're never getting this shit.
Yeah,
they need to just come out.
Yeah.
You're never getting this shit. Like, surely you're caught on by now.
Yeah.
Like,
God, you're an idiot. You're so gullible. Yeah. And this is the scary part, because, like, I think this is probably an acquisition I wouldn't have expected. This was like a bigger acquisition than I would have expected Sony to make. Not that Sony are a big company and they can make moves. You know, they've been acquiring lots of smaller studios throughout the year, and this is obviously their biggest one ever, I think. So clearly this isn't a million other people have said this, but this clearly isn't a reaction to the Activision Blizzard thing. I think it lines up and times up nicely, but they were probably looking at the market and seeing what Xbox was doing and being like, we need to acquire talent and we need to size up a little bit. So yeah, and the other side of that is that there's been reports that Sony allegedly have 10 billion left in terms of acquisition budget, which is scary because I think they're going to be going for a publisher with that. I feel like that's publisher money. Bethesda was 7.5. I genuinely don't feel like it's off the cards that Capcom is being negotiated with, Square Enix is being negotiated with. And they aren't a publisher, but in terms of independent, I think they're probably negotiating with FromSoft as well. Those were my bets.
Really? Ooh, FromSoft. That's interesting. I think out of the three, the one that strikes me is the most likely, based on past relationships, and the platform itself is probably Square Enix, but you know, because they make JRPGs, right? And PlayStation's super crazy popular in Japan. So, like, I feel like that's probably the one that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah.
And I just personally I don't make it FromSoft, please.
Well, that's the thing.
I don't want that rug pulled from under my
I know,
feet.
and like I'm scared, dude. Like, this is, I guess this is just like the other side of it, because we've been obviously on the side of like, yeah, Xbox are buying things. Sorry for everyone who this is going to impact, but like, I guess there's some level of excitement here because we get shit that's going to be well optimized on Games Pass, and that's like kind of what we've always said. And now this is us like on the other side of it, like, oh no, Bungie, like, this makes me nervous. I don't want to have to stop worrying about whether I can't play Monster Hunter or a FromSoft game ever again. Like, I don't like this feeling.
Yeah. Capcom's Monster Hunter.
Well, exactly, and that's what I'm like. If you have to take Square Enix, take them. I don't care about them that much. Take them. I'll live with it. I'll live with it.
I mean, yeah, Monster
Hunter. Like Koei Tecmo, maybe Konami. Like, I reckon all of these things are probably in there. But like, yeah, at the top of my list for do not buy is Capcom. Literally just because of Monster Hunter. I don't play any of the other Capcom's games. And FromSoft.
But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, Monster Hunter's a massive one, and it's proven to be fucking ginormous as well, right? I mean, the World is still their biggest selling game ever, and I think that they recently bought Rise over to PC, and I think maybe with the combined Switch and PC sales, it's like one of their top performing games ever, just behind World, I think. So I literally think it's outsold Village, I think they said. Yeah, outsold Resident Evil Village. So I literally think they're like top 2 games ever of Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter Rise. Yeah. So like, it's mental. And yeah, these have probably been purchased like hotcakes on PlayStation. So yeah, man, fuck.
I'm quaking in my boots. I'm shaking.
Yeah, Quake. We got Quake.
Okay. Hopefully. Yeah. So it is. It is it is just a bit of a. It's a bit of a question mark. Like, as we know, like, we've heard similar reports about Xbox, who allegedly have like 60 bill left in terms of like acquisition budget. So we know Xbox aren't done, and Jim Ryan said in this is like when expect more acquisitions. Like it was like a big flex, like big dick edit. Like, we're going to do more, and I'm like, oh god, just please, like please.
Just what's the who's the head of like PlayStation again? The guy who's
Jim Ryan.
Jim Ryan. I just imagine like Jim Ryan and Philly Spencer just like camping outside Capcom in like tents.
Yeah,
just like 9 a.m. knocking on the door.
Like 9 bill, 10 bill, 11 bill.
Yeah. Capcom are like, seriously, guys, security. We've told you can't do this.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping that Capcom is slightly out of budget for PlayStation at the moment, because they have, like, with the success of Monster Hunter now, that is a very valuable IP. And obviously that's not even half of it, like Resi and the rest that I can't even name. Capcom have quite a lot of IP. And I don't know how big the team is, but I'm just hoping that that's kind of out of range. FromSoft would be... Do you know, actually, I don't even know if FromSoft could be, because aren't they publicly owned? So they've got a lot of the funding comes from the government.
I'm not sure.
I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember. So, but I think I have seen conversations about it, like it being possible, because PlayStation have already bought a share in FromSoft. That happened like a couple of years back, and they've obviously worked closely with Bloodborne, etc., etc., etc. So, yeah, I think this is publisher money. I don't know who it's going to go. Like Konami, honestly, take Konami as well. There's a lot of valuable IP there. I don't particularly care, but that would be like they own Metal Gear, you know. So there are big things that, even though Konami have like been fucking up for like the last 5 years, they still have some valuable IP. But that would be absolutely one of the least damaging to me. What a weird time to be alive, man. Like, what am I gonna lose?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd way rather them take Metal Gear and just lock that down, or lock down Final Fantasy. That would kind of sting a little bit for me, but in comparison to like FromSoft games and Monster Hunter, fucking take it 10 times over.
Exactly.
Fucking yeah. And I'm sure they're listening to this right now, and they're just like, damn, didn't realize Deck and Tim like Monster Hunter this much. We've got to get Capcom.
Yeah, exactly. Make it happen, Phil.
It's just crazy. Their influence is nuts.
Yeah, you think the DICE award is big, Phil? Wait until we give you the QRP award. That's some status there. It'll change your life.
You still haven't earned it yet, Philly. We'll see what you do with the other 60 bill. You still haven't earned our award yet.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Crazy times, absolutely crazy times. So we'll see how the acquisition war keeps going, or as people like to call it now, the content war rather than the console war. So eyes peeled, I suppose. We'll have to just wait and see. Next up, really, there's a couple of things I want to move past, because I've put them in the notes, but actually they're not really that interesting, other than just, you know, companies fucking around with NFTs and then going, oh, sorry, I didn't realise it was so unpopular, and then stop. God, it was awful. So Team 17, like Worms developers, were like announcing Worms, the Wormverse or some shit, and it was like just JPEGs of Worms, and it's like, what is this? Like, is there like any worse way to like have a caricature of your own? Like, it's like a parody of itself, because Worms are already like silly and goofy and don't take themselves seriously and are like break the fourth wall, and you're gonna sit here and like try and be like, oh, here's a fucking... It's so stupid. Anyway, I don't want to speak about it. Yeah, okay, so next up is really sort of the sale disparity. We spoke about this a few weeks back, and like the based on what some data analysis was saying, was that there was the gap between, like, the estimated gap between PlayStation's numbers and Xbox's numbers, which Xbox don't report, by the way, which is why we get this from analysts who like feel that they have a good idea of what that number is. Was like a lot closer than we expected. And that's been like updated now. So coming from Bungie sales, the PS5 is looking to be around 17.3 million, and the Xbox Series across the X and the S is estimated to be around 12 million, which again, this is much closer than last gen. Like, which is great. This is great.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, you know, and this is like the interesting, like Xbox still needs to convert all of this acquisition nonsense into good games. And like, it's like, I spoke about the dam last week, you know, the water's like creaking through the dam, like we're getting bits and bobs here and there, which is clearly like working and it's great, but like, and it's, I don't think we're really going to start to feel that until like Redfall and Starfield start hitting, and we're like, and like assuming they do critically well, then we can start being like, this dam is just, there are these cracks are getting big, and then 2023 we all know is lined up to be a fucking bonkers Xbox year, and then onwards. So
yeah. I think the gap's going to get closer and closer as we go on. I feel like people buying Xbox now is you're kind of buying it in the faith of what's to come, based on acquisitions, based on things in the pipeline and stuff like that. Hasn't necessarily happened yet, but and I think when it does start to deliver, I think this gap's going to close. It was so much tighter. It'd be really interesting to see next year's sales, like this time next year, or even later into the year.
Agreed.
In 2023, I think it will be neck and neck, to be honest. Yeah,
agreed. And like, there is the whole conversation about like hardware, limitations in terms of supply, and there's been a lot of reports that just by the sheer fact that Series S is available because it uses a different, supply of chips and components, people are buying that now with the intention to get a PS5, like a PlayStation later, and that's like adding up. Like, the Series S is turning out to be like one of the best things Xbox could have ever done. There obviously the investment in first party has been the biggest thing people have wanted to see, but it's hard to deny that the Series S, the affordable model, and the circumstances we find ourselves in have really like facilitated some good numbers there.
For sure, yeah. Series S has been an absolute fucking banger for Xbox. It was I don't know whose idea that was or what insider knowledge they had on these components, but it was fucking ace.
Maybe it was Xbox. Maybe they created COVID. Maybe that's why.
That would explain the whole Bill Gates in the veins.
It would explain that as well. I think we're onto something.
Dude, I think we've got to shut up before we get silenced.
Don't want a red dot laser appearing on my forehead.
I'm feeling a little bit anxious as we wrap this up.
And that's not even just the feeling of FromSoft getting acquired. And so the other half of the story was that the PlayStation 5 numbers have now fallen behind the speed at which PlayStation 4 was selling, whereas the Series S is selling faster than the Xbox One is selling. And I guess one of those things is probably expected, while the other isn't. I would have expected that the PS5 was probably keeping up with PS4 sales, because they haven't really put a foot wrong. Like, the console's a bit ugly, but generally, and there was a bit of a gap in games, last year, but generally they had a strong launch lineup. They're coming back into this year quite strong, and like you could argue that disparity is just because people can't buy them. That's why it's slower than PS4.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I do think that's what one of the major points is exactly that. But then, I mean, you could also argue the similar thing for Xbox, right? Because I feel like a lot of Series X's might also be under the same sort of umbrella, not being available. So I think the numbers will adjust equally when stocks start coming back in. But yeah, I do expect, we did talk about this on other podcasts, I do expect PlayStation to have a jump in sales pretty damn quick when they start becoming available, especially with the lineups they've got coming in the coming months, like Horizon and Ghostwire and stuff like that. Like, they're hitting pretty hard.
And so. I guess like the only like crease to that is that, like, we've heard that this is not something we're expecting to see improve this year or even next year.
Yeah.
And if you've got someone who's like looking, and I guess this is the upside to it, because PlayStation are now, like, a lot of their games are still cross play. So like people can still snag themselves a PS4 or play it on PS4 Pro. Will people want to, like, at what, like, and I bet this is really factoring into what the internal conversations are about whether they should make these games cross-play. Like, God of War must have been one of them. Like, in my head, God of War was like next gen, and then they saw the projections of the chip shortage, and they were like,
"We gotta make this cross-plat." Yeah,
we're gonna lose out on too many sales because it's gonna be huge. It's gonna be fucking huge. So, and like with that, if we get to, let's say those people just want like next gen consoles and are generally like not buying these games because they're saving them for the PS5. if we get to the end of this year and there hasn't been like any easing with this supply shortage, I could easily see people seeing Starfield and Redfall next gen exclusives just to like, fucking funny turnaround. This isn't it. The Xbox is the one with the next gen, like with the next gen exclusives. It's not popular now though, so it doesn't matter. And like Starfield comes out and we see that like kind of running. Like these people are going to pick up a Series S. Like no way. Like this is going to be like I think Xbox are really going to plant their flag in as like the landmark, definitive like step into next gen, because there hasn't really been one yet. There hasn't. We'll have had Redfall,
sure.
but Redfall won't be like a technically impressive thing. I don't think.
You never know.
It's just it's not what. Whereas as we all know, Bethesda's to make huge worlds, huge games. Generally look pretty good in terms of the environment. So I can just really see that flag being planted by Xbox in the marketing and people saying, you know what, actually, I can get a Series S for like 200 quid right now if I really wanted to. But like a Starfield bundle. Like maybe the little grate on it is like a planet. They put a little ring on it, like a Saturn ring. This is why they should hire me, quite frankly.
Yeah. I mean, you've kind of... I'm pretty sure they're listening to this right now and they're like, did someone like leak our plans? Like, how does this guy know so much? Like, this is kind of weird.
And also, you're having mac and cheese for dinner tonight.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I find that interesting.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I think that's definitely the move to play, right? I feel like you just got to take advantage of this whole PlayStation getting cucked by this whole shortage, and we're kind of not, right?
Just for the Series S though. Series X is still.
Yeah. I get that. But yeah, you can just push the Series S out the door, right? It's still a next gen console. It can still play all these games that are built for next gen at really good standards. So I mean, I definitely think that's the play, right? And probably something they will go with, I would imagine, especially for a release like Starfield. You kind of got to scream that to the skies, to the stars, and package it with something. So
absolutely,
because at the end of the day, it's not multi-plat, so you need to sell it on your platform only.
Yeah.
So
and I get because it's just the more I think about it, the more like I feel that Sony are going to position God of War. They're going to try and line that up for a launch at the end of the year to overshadow Starfield, which makes total sense. But it just begs the question of like how many people are going to be like, looks great, but I want to play this on a PS5, which I still can't get my hands on. Like how many of those people like on that scale are going to be like, I'd rather just wait and play God of War on the PS5. I can get my hands on that, but for now, I can like jump into this next gen Starfield game on the Series S. So that's kind of the question of just let's get like how many people would convert.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people. I think the numbers would probably shock you. I think gamers are quite impatient people.
This will shock
I think a lot of
you.
people would. I think a lot of people would just buy God of War and play it on their PS4 Pro.
Yeah,
they just need it. It's like drugs in the veins. They just need that shit. I can definitely see a large portion of people doing that. And then they'll just, if the game's good enough, they'll just play it again on the PS5.
Yeah, I suppose.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, all makes sense. All right, cool. Well, I think speaking of sales, the Switch is now Nintendo's best-selling home console ever, at 103.5 million, eclipsing the Nintendo Wii's 101.6 million. And all I really have to offer here is a respectful golf clap.
Yeah, man. Snaps, dude. Give us some snaps.
For the record, I think this console is a bit fucking weird, but I can understand the mass appeal of it, and I can't deny that they've done a rocking job at advertising and marketing it as the casual thing, and making it very appealing to a casual gamer, or even as a secondary console.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
The Switch is, mate. I think the Switch was actually such a good play from Nintendo. I actually think it's probably the best thing they could have done, and that's kind of exactly how I see my Switch as well. It's like a secondary console. So
the Wii U too.
I feel like. So yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I just feel like that's their market. They went for it. They were just like, we can't. We probably could compete with the big boys, but like, I don't know. No one really needs an Unreal 6 Mario, an Unreal Engine 6 Mario. So let's just do it.
I do.
Let's just make it fun, quirky, portable, and everyone can play it on the shitter.
The ultimate toilet machine.
Yeah, dude, it is.
Hey, it truly is. Truly,
fucking great.
And that is the thing, isn't it? It's like it's probably not worth the entire conversation now, but at some point, Sony have already tried with the Vita, but at some point they must be looking back at that market and saying there's clearly, like, Sony have demonstrated that there is an appetite for a portable machine, which is back in the day there were quite like a lot. Like, you'd have like a DS and then like a 3DS, you'd have like a PSP or a Vita, like it was like a thing.
Yeah.
And then it kind of felt like, obviously 3DS is like stopped now. It's still out there, but and now it like Switch is like the dominant like portable machine.
It's kind of tough because now it's tough to get back into the market because Switch just has kind of a monopoly on it. Yeah, so it'd be very hard to break into it.
Steam Deck, I guess.
And yeah, Steam Deck, yeah. And just with the way that technology is progressing in terms of phones and cloud gaming as well, like I do think that is just slowly shifting out having a portable gaming machine. When we can start streaming this shit from the cloud just to our phones are powerful enough to do this. We don't need a separate Nintendo machine to do this sort of stuff. I feel like that's eventually going to take over the portable gaming space. So I do think in terms of like technology and stuff like that, I think Switch's days are numbered, kind of regardless. I don't think it's kind of like a permanent thing. Because we're shifting into cloud gaming, and you can do that on. Let's be real, like the fucking latest iPhone has probably got better specs than the Switch by fucking far. So,
but I guess it's always been a thing for me. Like I've always said, it's not even though I do think the console is a bit like quirky and weird in some ways. Obviously, it does excel in being, but like even I don't know. I always find with Nintendo consoles that it's like a step in the right direction and then a step backwards, because it's like, oh, there's a cool portable console, then you can take the controllers off, and I was like, well, that's fucking brilliant. That's brilliant. And then it's like, but it's a square, and I'm like, why is it a square? Like. I don't want to hold a square like a chocolate bar. Like it's the worst.
You want to hold a circle? You don't want to hold a circle.
I just want it to feel better.
You don't want to hold a triangle.
What it's like the Steam Deck looks comfortable. Like it's got like controller bits at the back. Like it's just the Switch is just flat, and I don't know. You know what I mean.
And it's actually a rectangle.
A rectangle. Fucking yeah. It's a fucking
get your shapes.
I'd like an oblong, please, an oblong console. And
an octagonal console would be fantastic.
That's right. You can like fold it like origami. Fuck, where was I going with that? And are they and online functionality? Like, my god.
Oh, yeah, they need to step into the new age with that. Fuck me.
Like the Switch is like 7 years old now.
Trash.
Like we should be like. Yeah, but I just feel like that should be, because I feel like there will have been times where I would have been pulled into the ecosystem more if I could just speak through your console. But he just wasn't. He just wasn't designed with it in mind. There's like a headphone port, but like there's not. I guess they've made Bluetooth functionality work now finally. So, but there's just no sort of system for it, and they're like, man, there just really needs to be. But anyway, I'm not going to go off on a Nintendo thing. Respectful golf clap. Like I said, it's...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Snaps.
Respectful golf snap.
For sure.
Respectful gamer snap. Yeah. Wicked. Good job. Good job, Nintendo.
Yeah.
You did it.
You did it.
Just your next step towards world dominance is... you've done it. Okay, well, seeing as we've got to actually talk about Activision Blizzard... UK?
Yeah, I'm good.
What were you going to say?
I was gonna say they're gonna buy FromSoft. They're just gonna slip in, dude.
Yeah.
And just be like, you guys thought we were out? We're back.
It would be, yeah.
Well, no one thought they were out, but you know what I mean.
It would be weird to see Nintendo make an acquisition. Like, who would?
Yeah.
Like, imagine if they bought like CD Projekt Red. Like,
who would they buy? I'm just trying to think of a company that sort of does games to their sort of standard and appeal.
No, I think if they were going to acquire anyone, they would acquire someone. They would acquire like a more mature,
outside the box.
Yeah, like a mature developer who are able to competently make stuff on shitty specs.
dude, pull your punches a little bit.
On shitty fucking specs. 30 frame, popping bullshit.
Yeah. Make a cool fucking gritty shooter in this fucking rectangle. They just like throw it.
That's the thing. Like, who wants to play a shooter on a Switch? No one. Nobody wants arthritis at the age of 23. You know?
Oh, dude, did you ever play Apex on the Switch when it came out?
No.
I wanted to fucking throw up.
No.
I've never seen a more ugly color palette. I've never seen more clunky controls. Oh my god. Yeah, shit's not made
like,
for FPS.
It should tell you a lot that in like Breath of the Wild or like any game that requires aiming, they have to use the accelerometer in it to like just tilt the consoles away, because we know it's disgusting to try and aim on this console. Because the sticks are like, they're so small, they're practically like in the hardware. You're like touching the motherboard to like, try and move. So it's just not good for shooting. You know, obviously it's not a problem, but for like precise aiming, it's not good. So
God. No, not at all. Trash.
Yeah. Anyway, we have to speak about Activision Blizzard stuff now because you know why. Only a little one though. As we come towards the end, and it's just I think it was an earnings call. It comes from Z Huge at EX on Twitter, and basically, the lineup looks like there's a new Warcraft mobile game in development. There's obviously Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2, and then there's a new IP that we recently heard about and discussed last week, which is not that surprising. The new Warcraft mobile game is a bit of an eyebrow raiser, and I don't know if that's like the RTS Warcraft or if that's like Hearthstone 2.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I mean they've just used the Warcraft IP, right? It could really be anything. But then portable MOBA is also kind of cool. MOBA? Portable MMO is also kind of cool.
You mean like if World of Warcraft?
Yeah. Oh wait, yeah.
Because Warcraft is more
World of Warcraft.
Because like Hearthstone is obviously Warcraft, which is what. Yeah.
I'm being an idiot. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. I don't really know. Did the Diablo mobile game come out? I can't remember. Has that come out yet?
I don't think so. If it has, my God, I haven't heard shit about that.
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean, it either came out and it was just as shit as we thought, or they just stopped working on it. Is it not in this list?
Yeah,
Diablo Immortal. It was called.
Yeah, I'm trying to have a quick look in the App Store.
I feel like it did come out.
Diablo.
I mean, you could just Google it.
No, shut up.
No,
it doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it.
Diablo Immortal release date. I said mortal. Yeah, it says 2022. So I don't think it's come out yet. Why is that not on the list? Surely they're working on that.
Yeah,
or it's just basically done, right?
I honestly do think it could be like a Hearthstone follow up to some degree, like maybe like a campaign.
It'll make its way to Xbox platforms.
Maybe I hope
Let's
so.
Go.
I'd like that.
I want Hearthstone on Xbox.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it? But yeah, me too.
I'd love to have Hearthstone on Xbox. I miss having a fucking card game.
Let's Slay the Spire. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but like it would just be nice to have to flick on and play a card game like using quick resume and stuff like that. To just quickly play rounds and stuff like that, and then hop onto other games on my mainline console rather than having to boot up my fucking rectangle.
Oh, fucking rectangle. Yeah,
but yeah.
Yeah, cool, makes sense. Yeah, so I mean, nothing immensely surprising here. And I guess have we spoken about it before? Have we spoken about Diablo 4 much? Like, because obviously there's quite a lot of like gameplay out there already. They've already shown like work in progress and stuff. Diablo 4 looks fucking sensational. And I'm not just saying this because Xbox acquired them. Awesome. It's looked really good for a long time. Like, I just mean, in terms of like technical elements and like lighting and graphic, it just looks really good.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about it. I don't know, maybe on an older episode, but yeah, I've also seen the gameplay, and yeah, shit, it's crispy, man.
Yeah.
It does look really, really good. And I mean, we obviously talked about it a lot in terms of the actual acquisition and how big Diablo 4 is in terms of, and what's happening with it, because it's still, no one knows, right? It still hasn't been announced whether that is everything or that is just exclusive. Like, that's still very much under wraps. I think it will be multi-plat, but
Yeah, absolutely. And I think,
It's good.
speaking about, like the appeal of Diablo, because, as much as Activision or Blizzard in particular have been kind of rolling around like the shitter for a bit, their IPs are still very popular and have a lot of weight. Like the fumbling of Overwatch has been like fucking ridiculous, but everybody knows how popular that game was. Diablo, like even like here, like for the rest of the article, Diablo 2 Resurrected sold more units since September than any other Activision Blizzard remaster in an equivalent time frame. So that includes, I think, Warcraft, and I'm trying to think of any others that maybe Blizzard have done. I just can't put my finger on any other ones that they've done. I'm sure there have been others.
I wouldn't know.
Nonetheless, Diablo big, basically.
Diablo big.
Yeah, Diablo big.
Yeah.
So, and I think, I'm just thinking about it right now. Like when we start, when we come to the time, let's say next year's E3, Diablo 4 comes up on stage and we see gameplay of it. We see like all of these cool like loot mechanics and like all the classes and whatever new systems they've decided to implement. That shit is going to be so hype. Like we've put a lot of hours in Diablo in the past, and because it's always been so far, there's been such a big gap between 3 and 4. I sometimes kind of forget it exists, but then when I actually start thinking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I really like Diablo.
Yeah, we fucking blitzed that game, Diablo 3. We played that loads.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really good game. Super crazy hyped for Diablo 4 when it finally comes out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Excellente. All right, well, as we come towards our final news story, As Dusk Falls, there was a little game that was announced like in 2020 in Xbox's May showcase. They were like, oh yeah, it's new IP from a studio called Interior Nights. They were like French, and it was that, you know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Yeah, it's like the
storyboarded, interactive drama kind of game. Which looks pretty interesting, but then we have heard nothing about it, and I've brought it up like every couple of months. Like, we must hear something about this soon. Anyway, it's been listed by the ESRB as having mature content, indicating that there's like kind of a quarter 1 or quarter 2 release. And this actually, I wasn't going to bring it up, but like there has been like like talks, like nothing like concrete, but just in terms of like logic of like there being a possible Xbox Spring showcase. Just simply because they have too much to show, I think, at a single E3 conference. Like, we're coming into February, it's only like 3 or 4 months away until really, and it's like there's just too much to like squeeze into an hour and a half. Like, it would be, So I just feel like that maybe there could be a small showcase of some of the smaller upcoming stuff. Obsidian's smaller one, Pentiment, that we spoke about. Maybe this, maybe like a little timed indie exclusive, and then like maybe a Redfall gameplay to end it on. I feel like that could be like a nice, tidy, like little showing.
I could see that being a thing, and then leaving the main stage for the big hitters for sure. Yeah. Oh, that's quite interesting. Yeah. It always looked like quite a unique game. Yeah, and very, very artistic. Very nice.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, my eyebrow. You have my curiosity. I'm excited to see more about it. Hopefully, I'm assuming it'll be on GameSpace, so easy to try if you've never really been into any like sort of interactive drama sort of games, which I generally am sort of hit and miss on. But yeah, that is everything. That is all.
That's everything.
Yeah, we
did it.
The whole cake. Yeah, we did it. Okay, right. Well, do you have anything else to add before we wrap this bad boy up?
I do not. No. Nothing.
Not a single thing.
Not a single thing. I don't want to say anything to anyone. I don't want
to ever. I just generally
I don't
all of
talk.
you.
Yeah, I don't want to talk to our fucking viewers, man.
Yeah, okay. Well,
no, I just don't really have anything to end.
That's great, man. No problem.